Hi, so this is a tutorial on how to line or cuff line your paws via a very shitty drawing. So I'm going to try my best to explain this. So first, obviously, you have your two hand pieces. So you have your piece with all the little finger holes and the claws, and then you have your second piece that you're going to put on top of it, your paw pads. So obviously the paw pads usually would be on the other side because it's inside sewing, but I didn't feel like doing that. I just wanted to show you. So the first thing you're going to do is you're not going to actually lay them on top of each other. You're going to sew along this seam right here. So that it kind of creates a long like piece of fabric. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your handy dandy measuring tape and you're going to measure from here to here in inches or centimeters, whatever system you use. And then you're going to take a piece of whatever fabric you want. I personally use non-slip leather around the cuff, but you can use minky, fur, or literally anything. You can literally use anything and it'll create a nice little cuff. So once you have that, you're going to take your piece of fabric and you're basically going to remeasure that length. You're going to put that length onto the fabric and you're going to cut a little strip. It really depends on how long you want your cuff to be. I usually like I drew this line. I usually do about half and half. So I make sure that I try to measure this is what I do basically. Basically, I put the fabric up against the paws so that I can see, so that it kind of goes all the way up. I didn't mean to do it. So that it basically goes all the way down. And then cut the thing and basically make it so that it kind of lays on top of the part of the paws. And so that you can cut another half of that. So you have a long half strip, basically a long strip that should be one side worth and the other side worth. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain that part. But you should now have a long strip of whatever fabric you have. This side is going to be flipped over, basically. And it's going to be folded. So basically you're going to fold it onto the other side. There you go. By this time you should already have your lining in. For the most part, I think I did the lining first. Yeah, I think you sew your lining in, and that way you can sew it to this. But the first thing you're gonna do is you're actually, but you can flip it or not flip it, doesn't matter. It's not gonna stay there. But basically, you gotta sew the lining to this little strip of fabric. You can sew it, glue it. I usually do a combination of both, super glue to keep it down and then sew through the super glue. Basically, so you're going to sew through this, and then once that's sewn in, oh shit, I forgot to mention, you're going to want to keep a little strip of fabric that doesn't, so you're going to kind of want to cut the fabric a little more than the width of than the length of your paws together, because that fabric's gonna fold over the other piece of raw fabric that you've cut to create the seamless circle. So now you have your thing sewn in. This is sticking out. Now you're gonna flip it over. So I'm gonna erase that. Now you're gonna flip it over to the other side. And I'm gonna basically kind of try and show you what it looks like on the other side. So on the other side, it's gonna look like this. It's gonna look like this. And so now that you have this piece that's long together, now you actually go ahead and you sew this part of the paw to this part of the paw so that it creates the whole paw kind of situation. And then that way, and then basically, I don't know how to, I'm going to try and do a little quick drawing of what it will look like. It's gonna basically, these are your two paws together. I know, it's dumb, but and you're going to have that little piece sticking out, but once you do it, that little piece is going to be flipped over the other piece on the other side. So basically, this piece is going to fold over this piece that is exposed and raw. You're going to glue it. I usually use E6000 super glue, and then you're going to go through and you're going to sew it. It depends on the fabric you're using, because since I'm using non-slip leather, I can't really sew through it because the thread will rip through it. So I just like glue it with really strong glues and like pray and hope for the best. But if you're using something like Minky, definitely sew it together. I don't know, since I use leather basically to be able to make the lip stay above the long fur, because it's long fur on these parts, I go really deep into the thing, like really deep into how do I explain that? I go like really deep where the cuff folds, and I just put a bunch of hot glue all the way through, and just push it down as I go, and then try my best, but like make sure that it doesn't leak out, because leaking out is bad and it's gonna make your fur all gross and sticky. And then try and like, if you don't want this raw edge, you can like fold it in, I guess. I don't really do that because I don't know, I've never tried it, but you can probably fold it in and then like super glue it to the fur. I don't know. I've never really sewn it to the fur before because I don't use like soft fabrics, but I'm sure you could like tinker and find a way to like sew it. I think you probably could sew it, honestly. You just gotta like put your mind to it, I guess. But yeah, I think I explained it, I think, maybe. If there's any questions that anybody has about how I did something or to elaborate more, I'd be fine to explain it. I'll make another video or I'll try to explain it over text. But yeah, this is for the most part what I do. Obviously, there's a little tweaking because it's like kind of put together really like with hope. So there's definitely some tweaking to make it a little bit more professional if that's what you're looking for. But the leather is the best way to go because it hides imperfections really easily. And it's a lot easier to deal with just because of all you have to do is glue it. But yeah, I mean, modify it, play with it, because the more you play with it, the more professional it'll look, basically. So yeah, just if you have any questions, just ask, and I'd be happy to respond.